Hello and welcome back to the table for another fantastic episode of Finding Atoria. My name is Malcolm and I'm in the studio today with...
Arcadia. Hello.
And Jess. Hi.
Hi, welcome in. We are missing our Tori today, but I think that we will have her back soon. She had projects and endeavors that were necessary. And I wanted to open up with a little story today that'll segue us into our topic here at the table on Finding Atoria. And that is, I think we all have done road trips before as kids. And after I started playing and was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, I would go on these trips and you'd get the landscape of the Midwest, right? And depending on where you are, it is either flat, open fields or kind of undulating hills with forest and greenery.
Shit ton of lakes.
And there's lakes everywhere, and there's lots of great topography and lots of great things. And I just remember my imagination at the time going wild a little bit and picturing, coming out of this forest line and around the curve into a field, you see this bronze dragon who's got a cow that they're eating, and just how cool that would be and how perfect that little scene or setup was for something like that. And inspiration came from, getting out of my own four walls, and we didn't go to exotic places at all, but the road trip, the traveling and seeing new and different things. And I thought maybe today the three of us could talk a little bit about travel and how it impacts and inspires not only your world building and your game running, but your characters and how you play them, and what travel adds to your game. So I will not do a fake roll-off because I've been doing too many of those, and we're a TTRPG podcast. We should have some damn dice on the table. But Arcadia, would you talk a little bit about maybe your experiences recent in going and seeing new places, meeting new people, and how that has inspired kind of gameplay in your TTRPG approach? And then, of course, Jess, we'll go to you after for your thoughts on topic.
Yeah, sure. I'm with you to some degree. You can pick different points throughout your life and think of places you've gone and how they influence your world building, especially maybe your character creation. For me recently, first time in my life ever got to go to Europe, and we were in Bordeaux and got to visit chateaux and vineyards and old cities that you don't have access to here in America. And it was so interesting how, like, almost on a daily basis, you'd walk past something and you'd see it and you'd be like, oh my gosh, that would be, blank. And one example I can give is one of my favorite stories to tell is we were in Bordeaux City, and it's a 2,300-year-old town. They still have parts of the old walls, that would protect the city, and the gates that people had to go through in medieval times to enter the city.
Yeah.
And as we were going past one of these gates, and unfortunately we didn't get a chance to explore them more closely. We just ran out of time. But you look up and you see the arrow slits in the wall, and it just really hit me. I've seen documentaries, I've seen things on TV, I've read books, I've done all this stuff that I understand the concept of castles and gates and walls and right. All of that. And you look up and you look at this arrow slit and you think, okay, I don't care what you roll on that D20 plus whatever. Nobody's ever getting an arrow through that arrow slit to hit you.
So tiny.
It's so narrow. It's so tiny that it was one of those weird, like, aha moments to internalize knowledge and to see it. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can't call that half cover. You can't call that 3/4 cover. Like, that is full coverage there.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's like a breathing hole more than anything else.
Right.
You can get an arrow out of it.
Right. You can get an arrow out of it. And it was so funny because when I came back, I was talking with Cole about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was still trying to argue. He's like, well, those archers were just so well trained and they were so good. And he loves history and he loves warfare history. And he's very knowledgeable about all of that. And I was like, you know what? I sort of thought the same thing until I saw it.
I mean, you especially because you're shooting up. You're shooting to elevation.
With winds.
It didn't look impossible, but
one in a million shot. Accidental 1 in a million shot.
Yeah, so you might succeed on this if you're in a Terry Pratchett novel.
Right?
Like maybe.
There it is, right there.
Exactly.
And that's if you're, hopping on one foot and there's a dragon attacking you at the same time and...
You shoot the arrow 180 degrees away from the window.
Right.
That might actually be what happened in Guards.
Right.
I know they were trying to make an impossible shot, but I don't remember what they were trying to shoot. I need to reread that book. Sorry.
So Arcadia, and that's a great example. I love that from the Bordeaux and the visual element of the arrow slit. Did you encounter anyone where you take, because I'm one of those, people are going to be people wherever you go. Were you struck by anybody's personality or anything about that area that made you, I don't know, associate a character, a player, or an NPC with anyone?
Yeah. And I think particularly because while we were surrounded by the ancient, and so there was a lot of architecture and knowledge of the history and stuff that sort of influenced my fantasy world ideas. Mm-hmm. The interactions with people were modern, and so very much influenced my I went right to VTM.
Right.
And so everywhere I went, it was sort of a look at people and I would say business functions and interactions that would flow into VTM world building. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm going to steal your stories, but one of the favorite things was we were down in this wine cellar that's a 1,000-year-old limestone cave. And this chateau this is where they store their wine, until it's sold. And they had, bottles of wine in there from every year, at least of the 1900s. And then they even had some from the 1800s. And the gentleman who is taking us on the tour was brilliant and, didn't really notice anything. Wonderful gentleman, very kind, very nice, very knowledgeable. And as we're going out, we noticed he had a little bit of a handicap on his arm. Wasn't really very noticeable at all, just happened to glance and see that. And immediately I'm thinking caves and a little bit of a body deformation, but that's mostly hidden. And I immediately am thinking, okay, the person in charge of the wine cellar is the Nosferatu.
The keeper of secrets in the cellar, right?
And so that just led to more spin-offs of, the owners the sommeliers as they're taking us through these tours, what clans would they be part of? You have those who are so artistic and creative in creating the wines. I'm thinking Toreador, and the owners who have bought out or run them through the family for so much time, we're thinking Ventru or Bruja or La Sombra. And then we're sitting here getting into, because Bordeaux, for people who don't know much about the wine country, is split into two sides of a river, a right bank and a left bank. And the left bank is much more renowned for the age of their vines. It's an older, they were recognized in the 1800s of a certain level. Mm-hmm. And so to me, I'm like, okay, that's the Ventru. They're the old established, families.
Right.
And the right side is still old vines, still excellent wines. It just doesn't sort of have the same identical tradition. And so I'm thinking, okay, and so that's the Bruja, sort of come in on that side. And
it sets itself up nicely, doesn't it?
It does. And so that you can have, this whole world is just spinning out in front of me. of how you would move politically within this particular region if you were playing vampire in that region. So it was really, really enjoyable.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Why don't we'll take a short break. We've got more travel to talk about. The Bordeaux stories are fantastic. Yeah, I have to agree on a lot of points there, but what we'll do is we'll come back from the break. We'll talk to Jess for a little bit about her travel and the inspiration it brought to her table and her games.
When you sit down at the table, open the books, and spill out the dice, you're looking for an epic adventure. Tabletop role-playing is more popular than ever, and every day new players join our great hobby. My name is Steve Kellums, and I'm the host of the Epic Adventure Podcast. I'm just a fan with a radio voice, but joining me on this quest will be Mike Howlett, the co-founder of Oddfish Games, a great independent game company, and Christina Stiso, a PhD student studying game-based learning. Together, we will discuss all things tabletop gaming, from character creation to world building to setting and pacing. We will give you tips and tricks to make your games, well, epic. Like and subscribe to the Epic Adventure Podcast today.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. The Finding Atoria podcast is looking for guests for our upcoming episodes. Are you or someone you know passionate about the TTRPG community and have a story to share? If so, contact us on our socials or reach out at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. And now back to your program. Welcome back from the break on Finding Atoria. We are talking about travel and talking about the inspiration that you can get not only as a game master or a runner or a world builder, but also as a player, and some of those different interactions and some of those different scenes that bleed through that we've used from the places that we've seen. And we just heard about the wonders of Bordeaux and the VTM NPCs galore. We're going to talk to Jess a little bit about inspiration through travel in your games, in your characters.
Okay, so sorry, bear with me. I try to travel a lot, so I've got a lot. So if I'm talking too much, please feel free to interrupt. But so I've got a couple of different thoughts here, but I guess first, what I wanted to talk about kind of pertains to me as a GM. So something that I've been looking at recently when I travel is just like how cities are built, because just the way a city is now can hint at so much about its past, where like you don't even have to say anything. And it just, like, take, Tokyo is a good example. Because so much of it is, it's an old city, but so much of it is very new. Right. Well, why is that? Well, something destroyed it.
Because, there was no longer an old city.
Yeah. Not that there aren't older parts of it, but, it was like Shinjuku and Shibuya are well known for, like, the neon lights and, like, the modern buildings and stuff like that. It's like, well, yeah, it got bombed pretty badly in World War II, so a lot of the city had to be rebuilt. Like the ease of the train system there, like, if you compare to Kyoto, Kyoto was not bombed during World War II, so the train system is they kind of had to build it where they could. And so it's a little bit less convenient. Like I don't like taking the train in Kyoto. It's kind of a pain in the ass. But in Tokyo, it's super convenient. Right. Well, because they could build it all from the ground up. So I'm just thinking in terms of like D&D. Right. If we have an elven city where all of the buildings are new,
why are all the buildings?
Did they destroy them themselves?
If the people are ancient, why is the infrastructure new?
Exactly.
And just knowing that it is gives you a hook to a backstory and your path down the road to good lore. I like the idea of that. I think that Bordeaux kind of gave me some of the same things in just the way that the streets were, and that the alleyways were not alleyways. They were just tinier streets that people used, and where people went with those cars was just incredible. But space was such a premium that it was interesting, the topography and where I would use landmarks and things like that. It was an interesting thing. What else in what city? So Tokyo is a great example of that modern infrastructure that needs a story, needs a reason and a back history. What else? What else has inspired you? Are we still in the GM camp now, or
So still in the GM camp? Because on the flip
that.
side of that, there's like, all right, really ancient stuff that's still around. Like what got, and you still want modern conveniences and things like that. So like, how does that all work together? Because then, like I've recently been, a few years ago, I went with my husband to Italy for our honeymoon, and we went to Verona.
Okay.
And that was possibly my favorite city that we went to, because, and not because of the Romeo and Juliet stuff, they do have that there, but the main thing for me was the Roman stuff in Verona.
Right.
They have a Colosseum there that is older than the one in Rome, and it is still in good enough shape that they use it. Like
right.
we went in for like a tour of it, and there were all these signs saying that it closed early. They closed at 3 that day because they were having a pop concert there later that night. Like, and in the main part of it, they had a stage set up and everything. Like, they still used it, and that was so cool. This thing is older than the one in Rome, and they still
using it.
And
so I see how this is kind of the inverse of what you were saying before, because now my question, my DM arc building brain goes to, okay, why was it important enough to keep around?
exactly.
So what influenced change here and the possibility of modern change here, but someone's grinning at me.
Sorry, I just have to ask Jess to build off of the statement that you just made, because she has a really fun story about a recent travel where the question is why is it still around?
Yes. I was actually going to get this one was the story I was telling next, actually. Okay, so the Tokyo and Verona, like those were both past trips. This year I went to Split, Croatia, because I'd wanted to see, like, I knew that they had, that's where Diocletian's palace was. Like, okay, that's cool. It was, Roman ruins, or a Roman palace. And it was very much not what I expected. I guess, like, when I Googled pictures of it, they showed what looked like a Roman palace. And so I was expecting like a standalone separate structure, like, how you go to London and Buckingham Palace is a separate building.
It's an estate, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was not separate. The Diocletian's palace is basically ruins. There are bits of it left.
Okay.
But the old town grew up within it. So it is not, and you have bits of wall, there's like this one courtyard that is still there, and that's what all the pictures were of, which is why I thought it was a separate thing. But like, so you have different centuries of stuff, like, so you have a mix of all of these different ages of building. It's like, all right, so here's the Roman wall, here's a wall from the Middle Ages here, so it's all kind of mixed together in this really cool little old town where you can't have cars in there. It's so the hotel I stayed at had like a medieval wall as part of the wall. Like, this is really neat, actually.
So they really just built into, while preserving what they could, this ancient site, and put a towny type town right in the middle of it.
Oh, they absolutely scavenged the fuck out of it for stone and shit. That's why. That's why it's so ruined. Because like the Roman engineers are really, really good. There are Roman viaducts still in use all across Europe. So
roads are a quick thing, and I'd like to bring Katie in really quick.
No, I'm anxiously awaiting getting her to the part about why some
I'm
stuff
almost
is
there.
Right.
I'm almost there.
I'm on my edge of my seat. Like, come on, just get there.
Okay, sorry. No
Okay.
more side quests. We're back on track,
So,
and you're getting
This
there.
is leading to the part that
I can
Arcadia
hear the
wants
train
to hear.
right now. We're taking off.
Okay, so basically, like, a lot of the stone and stuff from the original palace has been scavenged for other things, which is kind of why there's not a huge amount of it left. Like, there are definitely some pieces of it still there, but it was a lot bigger than what's left. So in the very first round of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, like after UNESCO was founded, Diocletian's palace, like Split, was added to the list. So if most of it was destroyed, like, well, why? Why was it on the list? And this is what I'm getting to. So they have one of the best preserved Roman basements in the entire world.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was that. So like basically, like, you can actually walk through it.
Okay.
Because it's, as in, like, not that you're allowed to walk through it. It's like that is the way to go to get from one side of the city to the other. Like you go underneath.
You just pass through it.
Right. That's where the walkway goes.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like where, that leads up into that main square that was the picture that I saw of Diocletian's palace, and thought was evidence of a separate building. It's the best preserved Roman basement that has like all of these different architectural features still there. Like there's, here's a really good example of a column, a really good example of, the archway, stuff like that. So it had like all of these different features in one place, and it was super well preserved. So our tour guide was a professor of Roman history at the university there. Like, if you can go on a historical tour led by an actual professor of history, definitely do it. It was really interesting. So he asked, I was like, well, why was this preserved when the rest was not? And it's like, all right, well, maybe, did they not know about it? I was like, oh no, they knew about it. They knew it was here. So it's like, okay, that means they have to be using it for something. Like the Colosseum in Verona, they just kept using it for whatever entertainment they had. Like, well, what was this basement used for? We suggested maybe storage, and like, nope, they used it as a sewer. They would poke holes in the ceiling of it and then just dump crap down into it, like literal crap down into it.
It was a crap apartment.
Yeah, and like during the later
bathroom.
During the later archaeological excavations, it was cleaned out, obviously, and all cleaned up.
A well-decorated, well-columned shithouse.
Basically
the best preserved Roman basement because they needed to use it to dump their shit.
Right?
I'm just
probably was interacted with the least, so it makes sense,
right?
I guess.
Right? Like no one wanted to go down there and get anything out of it because that's where.
When you said basement, I heard apartment. Because you're talking about how it's adorned with things. I'm thinking, all right, somebody lives there. It's a basement, and then you're like, nope, they poke holes, and I'm like,
yeah,
all right.
So, it was a sewer for a little while.
Rent
apparently
went down significantly when I learned about the upstairs holes.
So I guess what is so cool to me about this, hearing all of these stories that Jess is sharing, is that idea of. Now my brain is just processing like, all right, you've got this city in this medieval setting, and I mean, you could just have some fun with a place like that with your characters having to deal with it.
We were in Saint-Emilion. If I pronounce things wrong, it's because I'm bad at pronouncing things, and got dropped off in the village to have lunch, and they tell you it's cobblestone. And, of course, it's France, so it's not flat. There was a hill.
Oh, my gosh.
At an angle.
An alleyway. Like, it was an alley between stores.
And if it rained for 30 seconds, it would be a slip and slide from hell. And people are
I think it was a slip and slide even dry.
People are just trudging up this thing, and you can see how it kind of leads down out, from the town. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, so we'll set up a left wing and a right wing, and then we'll funnel them into the hill. and I'm just, but there were people in high heels just hiking that thing, and I took 2 steps down and grabbed the guardrail like I was ice skating.
I took 1 step and almost fell.
It was of death, and it was just slick stone, rough stone. It was like a map that you had to figure out in a D&D, like 2 steps to the left, 1 right.
Oh, it'd be such a good trap
would
corridor.
Be a really interesting puzzle. Is like these specific stones are
Right?
slippery as fuck, and you will be prone if you step on it.
Right. Like DC 35 dexterity.
The only way to get into the battle is to go up the
Right.
the cobblestoned alley.
And then just like the pissed off look on your players' faces. But that, yeah, so inspiration absolutely everywhere. Let's go back around the table. Final thoughts, anything that you wanted to share about it?
Yeah, I think, we talked about settings and we talked about, game situations and inspiration there. I really like the idea of how, maybe culture or the meeting of people in different places. And I would love to point out that, Jess is a very experienced world traveler. I am not. When we talk about this trip, this is the only time I've ever traveled to that area of the world. Anytime I've traveled outside of the Americas. But, even traveling in your own part of the world, there's so many people you can meet and so many interactions you can have there, or, mythologies from the cultures that are indigenous to your area of the world. Maybe it's Celtic lore, maybe it's Greco-Roman lore, maybe it's Native American lore, maybe it's Maori, whatever it might be. And so many more that I'm not naming, but, and how they influence your build. And, I think that is something that does definitely influence my character builds, is that, I tend to look to ancient traditions in our world that have interested me to explore and pull that into the characters that I create.
Right.
And that is where I find some uniqueness to those people. And I love to really dive into those cultures and information to learn more and bring that into my character. And Jess, I know you do a lot of similar stuff for some of your character builds.
Actually, yeah, because the thing is, and I can be inspired by a lot of different things, and I've been inspired before by oh, how would I make a Jedi, or how would I make the Avatar from Avatar: The Last Airbender or something. But then those the interest in playing that tends to fade pretty quickly, because that's not a character. That's just a build with no spine to it. And so I'll make an example of that, but then I'll never actually play it because I've lost interest. Whereas if I'm drawing inspiration from somewhere real, and how being from somewhere like that, or having experienced something that this place experienced, influences a character and their backstory and their personality, that feels like a real person to me. And so I actually play those. So I have my bard. I have a New Zealand accent for her. Now, obviously, I'm not great at this accent. I do my best. But it just sounded very musical in a very interesting way, and that suited a bard to me. And she's also from very far away from everywhere else, and has just kind of made this her home. But she doesn't go home very often, because that's so far away. And then I had another character who I was inspired by, Japan in the 1800s. Once they opened to the rest of the world, they sent a mission around the world with different samurai and others, going to different countries to look at educational systems, government, military, just all of those. It was okay,
fueling the Meiji Restoration.
Yes, this was during the Meiji Restoration, and I think it was the Iwakura mission. Mm-hmm. But this actually started because I went to Vassar for college, and the very first Japanese woman to graduate from an American university went to Vassar, and I worked in the Dean of Students office during my time there, and my seat at my desk was right next to her portrait. So I was like, who the fuck is this? Who's this Japanese lady in 1860s, 1870s American style dress. Who is this? What's her deal? And then I found out about the whole mission. It's like, oh, okay, so that's why Japan has drawn inspiration from, I guess, Prussia for the military. And it was like, okay, who did military best? Who did government best? Who did education best? And they just kind of drew inspiration from all over the world. We're like, all right, let's take what is working the best and then make it work for us. And so that, like, what would it be like to be sent by your country to somewhere completely unknown to learn about it and bring those insights back? That was the inspiration for a character. I made them a fighter, but it was, you have no other real mission other than just learn.
Oh, I
just
like that.
wander and learn.
That's why you're out adventuring.
Right, exactly. So I thought that was really, really cool. It was like, all right, really small, isolated island nation that almost no one's heard about, and now you're kind of wandering by yourself to learn everything you can and bring that information back home.
That's a super level of influence from, I mean, a lot of different angles on your characters and your gameplay.
Yeah,
that's
so
fantastic.
as a player, that's what I do. I had wanted to get into what I do as a player with that kind of inspiration. Yeah. But yeah, it's like having a specific place that, and obviously our world doesn't have Japan and Tokyo and whatnot. Like Atoria doesn't have that, but there's an island out in the middle of nowhere that I absolutely can be from. It's like, okay, so that island nation has sent envoys and just wanderers to go learn, and because they recently had a major government upheaval and now they want to be catching up with everybody else. And so that's what the history is in this particular
I know we
story,
need to wrap up.
Yeah,
No, that wasn't for you. Okay. It was because last thought is something that really got me on our trip is we stopped. A lot of the places we visited had evidence that they had been a part of medieval pilgrimage sites. Ooh,
that could be cool.
And that's
character on a pilgrimage somewhere?
Like that was immediately like, oh, a cleric,
right?
On pilgrimage. I'm like, how fun of a character would that be?
That would be pretty cool.
Tons of inspiration there.
Anyway,
I wanted to say that if you're lucky enough to travel and you like to travel, then that was kind of the pitch of the episode. But also, if you don't or you can't, a library is probably close to you. I think that a book is almost as good as a trip sometimes for inspiration. But love to hear a little bit about what you've experienced in travel.
Can I'm sorry. Just a thought while you're saying that is, I think there's a part of travel that sometimes, at least for me, makes me maybe pay a little bit more attention to new things.
Sure.
And that sort of opens that opportunity for inspiration. We can do that same thing exactly where we are. We just need to sort of, not glance over the, person checking us out at the gas station. That might be a really good NPC for the tavern. Or, I think there's so many experiences in the world around us day in and day out. But perhaps we're just not looking as closely
because it's our normal, because it's familiar.
So
something on that daily commute maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, fantastic conversation. I appreciate you guys bringing your travel experiences and inspirations to the table. We'd love to hear from you listeners about where you've gone and what you've seen and how it's influenced your table. You can talk to us on social media. You can leave a comment on the Word Leaf Media YouTube page. And you can, as always, support the show at the Finding Atoria Patreon. Anything else that I'm forgetting today?
Touch the button, www.wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria.
Perfect. Jess, thanks for hanging out. Arcadia, thank you for bringing your stories. Guys, we'll talk to you next week on Finding Atoria. Tell them bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Word Leaf Media. Find us at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria if you or anyone you know has stories or other good things to say about TTRPGs. Get a hold of us. You can find us on all the social medias.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Word Leaf Media. Are you interested in sharing stories of your favorite TTRPG experiences? If so, reach out at www.wordleafmedia.com/contact us on our socials, or you can now leave a comment on your favorite Finding a Toria episode at our Word Leaf Media YouTube channel.